I want to talk to you today about a nightmare, a very specific, very haunting cinematic nightmare. Let me explain a massive shift in this universe that changes absolutely everything we thought we knew. For years now, we've looked at the return of Robert Downey Jr. as this exciting, triumphant comeback, right? Like, yes, he's back. But the more I analyze this deeply, really looking at the overarching narrative threads that have been weaving together for over a decade, the more I realize we are looking at this entirely the wrong way. He isn't returning as a hero. He's not even returning as just a fun, fresh new villain for the next phase. He's returning as the ultimate, inescapable embodiment of every single fear Tony Stark ever had. What if our greatest savior returns as our ultimate nightmare? I just want to let that question hang in the air for a second, because today I'm going to break down exactly how Doctor Doom's arrival proves that Tony Stark was right all along. This isn't just some shocking piece of stunt casting. This is pure, brilliant narrative poetry. It's a total psychological undoing of over a decade of storytelling. I'm going to walk you step by step through how this setup is crafting the most terrifying, psychologically devastating event in cinematic history. Why? Because it strikes directly at the heart of absolutely everything we were taught to trust.
Part 1. The Ultimate Nightmare Realized.
Okay, let's really dive into the psychology of our fallen hero. Tony Stark was a man entirely cursed by his own foresight. He was historically almost paralyzingly paranoid. Think about it. While the rest of the team, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, were fundamentally grounded in fighting the battle right in front of them, Tony was always looking up at the sky. He wasn't just fighting the current threat. He was constantly anticipating the next massive cosmic disaster. And to truly understand Doom, we absolutely have to go back and understand the trauma of that vision from the Age of Ultron. Remember that devastating sequence Wanda Maximoff forced into Tony's mind? He stood completely alone in this cosmic wasteland. He looked down and saw Captain America's shattered shield, and all of his friends, his found family, just lying dead at his feet. The Earth was completely ruined, stripped of life, invaded by leviathans. And as Cap reached out with his dying breath, he said, "You could have saved us." The true horror of that moment wasn't just that they died. It was that Tony survived, knowing he didn't do enough. That singular, deeply traumatic vision became the dark emotional engine for everything that followed. Walk with me chronologically through Tony's desperate attempts to rewrite fate, because it's so important. In 2015, terrified by that vision, he creates Ultron, hoping to build a permanent shield. In 2016, racked by the immense guilt over the destruction in Sokovia, he realizes heroes need boundaries, so he tears his family apart over the Sokovia Accords. The emotional weight of fighting Captain America literally shattered the Avengers. Then, he recruits a teenage Spider-Man because he desperately feels the crushing weight of the world and just needs more help. And finally, in 2023, he makes the ultimate sacrifice to finally, permanently wipe out the threat. Every major, defining decision Tony Stark ever made was frantically, desperately engineered to prevent that exact apocalyptic vision from coming true. And this brings us to the horrifying twist we are about to witness. Doctor Doom's arrival means that apocalyptic vision is finally happening. The world is going to face an existential threat unlike anything before. But here is the sick, twisted irony of it all. The face of the apocalypse, the man bringing the absolute destruction of everything they love, is the exact same man who died trying to stop it. The cosmic threat Tony gave his life to prevent is him. Section 2. A global suit of armor. This brings me to Tony's grandest, most controversial ambition. Tony didn't just want to win fights, he wanted to make fighting entirely obsolete. A suit of armor around the world. That was his ultimate dream. He wanted a system so absolute, so totally impenetrable, that Earth would be permanently safe even long after the heroes were gone. But people thought he was crazy. Steve Rogers famously pushed back, arguing that a shield driven by fear is just a cage. This was the ultimate battle of freedom versus security. The world didn't want to live under constant automated surveillance. They didn't want a forced peace if the cost was their fundamental freedom. And ultimately, Tony lost that argument. Now, I want you to look at how Doctor Doom takes that exact dream and totally perverts it. Let's call this the Doom Protocol. Doctor Doom is coming to literally build Tony's suit of armor. But instead of relying purely on Stark tech, Doom utilizes an unholy, terrifying alliance of supremely advanced technology and ancient dark magic to seize absolute control of Earth systems. He isn't building a shield to protect humanity from the outside in. No, he is forging chains to enslave it from the inside out. Same goal, opposite morality. This is the terrifying reality we have to confront right now. When the world looks up at the sky at their new conqueror, they aren't going to see some weird alien monster or an intergalactic warlord. They are going to see Tony Stark's face. And because of everything Tony did for them in the past, humanity might tragically look at their own enslavement and welcome it. They might actually believe it's for their own good. They will think their savior has returned to fix things, and they'll willingly surrender their freedom, not realizing the cage door has just been permanently locked behind them. Part 3: The Price of Accountability. This transitions us perfectly into the intense political and moral debates of the Civil War era. Accountability. Let's really understand this mindset for a second. Tony Stark fought for the Sokovia Accords because he looked in the mirror and realized that without oversight he was dangerous. The guilt of Charlie Spencer's death in Sokovia absolutely haunted him. It fueled his realization that well-intentioned people with God-level capabilities are actually humanity's greatest threat if they aren't kept in check. He was willing to bleed, to fight Captain America, to essentially fracture the Avengers into pieces, all because he deeply believed absolute power required absolute restraint. So the crucial point we have to grasp is this: Dr. Doom is the exact nightmare scenario Tony warned us about. Doom is the ultimate unchecked dictator. He is a being wielding God-level power, an unparalleled master of both science and sorcery, with absolutely zero oversight, zero conscience, and zero boundaries to stop him. Doom's very existence totally validates Tony's entire side of the Civil War argument. Tony said we needed to be put in check, and Dr. Doom is exactly what happens when no one holds the leash. Section 4: A devastating psychological game. And the fallout of this isn't just going to be physical destruction. I really want to slow down here, because the upcoming conflict is going to bring an emotional devastation and psychological warfare unlike anything we have ever seen on screen. 11. For 11 years, from the very first Iron Man all the way to Endgame, we and every single character in this cinematic universe have hardwired our brains to associate this very specific face with pure heroism, with hope, and with the ultimate sacrifice. When things were at their absolute darkest, that face meant salvation. You cannot simply erase over a decade of deep psychological conditioning. How do you fight the ghost of your mentor? Just think about the agonizing pain this is going to cause. When the remaining heroes face doom, there is going to be a heartbreaking hesitation. They will look into the cold eyes of a monster, but they're going to see their fallen brother. Specifically, I want you to imagine Peter Parker. Think back to Peter holding Tony on the battlefield in Endgame as he died, crying, telling him, "We won, Mr. Stark." Now imagine the visceral, soul-crushing horror Peter is going to feel seeing his beloved mentor, the man who literally died to give him a future, actively trying to kill him. Doom is a master tactician. He will absolutely weaponize that hesitation. He will use their grief, their memories, and their profound love against them. Part 5: The Ultron Parallel. To understand just how deep this psychological warfare goes, we must connect it back to Tony's greatest mistake. There are deeply unsettling philosophical similarities between Ultron and Dr. Doom. Saving the world from itself. That was Ultron's core programming, twisted into an absolute horror show. Ultron looked at humanity and decided that they needed either forced evolution or total extinction. There was no middle ground for him. And let me explain the terrifying parallel here. Dr. Doom shares this exact same twisted savior complex. Doom doesn't think he's the villain. Doom will tell you that the universe is broken, chaotic, and bleeding, and only his iron grip can hold it together. Tony accidentally created an artificial intelligence that thought exactly like a dictator. Ultron was just the beta test. Dr. Doom is the fully realized prototype. Doom is the flesh and blood embodiment of that exact dark ideology. But this time, the dictator is wearing his creator's face. It's as if Ultron's cold, calculating consciousness finally found its perfect human vessel in a dark, twisted reflection of Tony Stark himself. Section 6: The Tragic Inversion. As we build toward the climax of this whole analysis, we arrive at the core of the tragedy. I call this the tragic inversion. We are being perfectly set up for the most iconic parallel in cinematic history. I am Iron Man. Think about the profound emotional weight of that one line. It was a declaration of extreme humanity. It was the moment an arrogant, selfish billionaire reached the absolute peak of humility. He chose to give up everything, his life, his wife, his daughter, to perform a final selfless sacrifice that saved the universe. That single line is permanently etched into our hearts as the absolute pinnacle of heroism. Now, I want you to imagine the absolute chilling terror of the moment the mask comes off in the future. Just imagine the dead silence in the theater. He removes that cold metal mask, revealing the exact same face. He has the exact same immense confidence, the same commanding magnetic presence. But he doesn't say, "I am Iron Man." He looks down at the broken, weeping heroes and says, "I am Doom." It is the exact same man, completely stripped of his noble purpose. And this brilliant juxtaposition teaches us the hardest lesson of all: sacrifice versus conquest. Power itself is inherently neutral. It is neither good nor evil. It's simply a tool. Tony Stark had unimaginable power, and he chose to use it for sacrifice. Dr. Doom has that exact same immense power, that same unparalleled genius, and he chooses to use it for absolute conquest. Doom is exactly what Tony Stark would have been if he had forgotten his humanity and his original purpose. Which leaves us with one lingering, haunting thought to take away from all of this. Did Tony's sacrifice actually stop the threat, or did it merely delay the inevitable? My thesis is this: Tony Stark didn't eliminate the danger, he only delayed it. The true heartbreaking tragedy is that the face that bought us a second chance is now returning to collect the debt. The world thought it was permanently saved, but we are about to realize that the suit of armor meant to protect us has finally arrived, and it is about to become our permanent prison.